What's up, everybody? Matt Malatesta here. Jackson DePasquale on my whistle. Houston's hottest podcast for high school football. There is no one else like it. No one. Follow us on YouTube, Insta, Facebook, Twitter. Like and subscribe as well so you can just keep getting all this great content. Okay, so huge week. Huge week. Why? There's really one game, right? There's only one game that matters in the city of Houston for the entire season. That is North Shore playing Atascocita. They go to Atascocita this time. It's going to be interesting. Maybe. This is not a rivalry. If you are a rival, you have to win a lot of games in this to make it a rivalry. North Shore has dominated. I think Atascocita has won maybe one or two. Atascocita gives me pause because they nearly lost to Kingwood last week. North Shore is doing what North Shore does. But we'll talk about this headlining game shortly. But what happened last week? Here's what happened. We can look into the future with these super X-ray glasses. Here's what I got to say. Katie is still Katie. Jordan, we ain't talking about Jordan no more. No more Jordan. Okay? Willis is really good. Conroe, no. They were undefeated. No more. We are not talking about Conroe anymore. We were talking about Clear Springs as well a couple of weeks ago. No more Clear Springs. Who are we talking about? Cypress Woods is undefeated. We didn't even have them in our rankings. We totally screwed that up. Cy Woods Wildcats. Coach Semper, amazing job. Undefeated so far. They got one of the coolest quarterbacks there is in the city of Houston. Darian Rogers. Darian Rogers, you look at him, he don't look like a quarterback. He looks like a defensive tackle. He is every bit of 250, but he can move around a little bit, moving around, throw it deep. They play really cool brand of football. They have a tough game this weekend. We go see if they're one of these pretenders in the city of Houston. I think they are really good. They play comprehensive football. Okay, so what are your thoughts about it last week?
Last week, I look at, especially that Atascocita versus Kingwood game, I would have, based off of how you watched North Shore play Kingwood, I would have thought that Atascocita was going to take care of business, win this game pretty handily. But kudos to the Kingwood Mustangs. They're having a good year. They have a lot of young talent, and they took the fight to Atascocita, similar to what Summer Creek did in the second half of that game that they played 2 weeks ago. I think this Kingwood team might be better than we think they are. But also on the Atascocita side, I think there's some question marks on defense. Because offensively, they were able to put up 42 points. Torrey Blaylock had a big game. We'll be talking about him in a little bit. Carden Mack had a big game. I think defensively, there are some big question marks. And to see that last week, the week before you play North Shore, which is the big game, it'll be a sold-out crowd on both sides. Just a little bit concerning. But this Atascocita team does have a good resume already, and I expect them to get up and get ready for this game this week.
We do talk a lot about trap games. Kingwood may have been a trap game because they were so emotional beating Shadow Creek, and we call it a double impact game. David Amon from Old North Shore coach used to say that. When you play a game like that, and it's so physical, and you put everything into it, and you win, well, the next week, you're kind of, it's not the same vibe. Now they got to get back up. They got to get back up really, really fast because North Shore's coming. I don't even know. We haven't seen the North Shore game because they demolish everybody. It's like it's an unfair advantage because they kill everybody and all their players are out by halftime. So we'll talk about keys to that game. You were at the Katy game. You've been all about Jordan. Feeling that Jordan. I mean, you can't go, Katy ain't going to lose for another 10 years. The last district game that Katy lost was against Katy Tompkins, and Jalen Melrose was the quarterback. And before that, it was Cinco Ranch, like 7 or 8 years before that. Katy's going to continue to dominate. Jordan has had their little time in the sun. We're going to see what they do in the playoffs. We'll see. What about that game stood out? And then we'll talk about Conroe Willis.
I think Katy, obviously you know what they're going to do offensively. They're just so disciplined on defense that They don't make a lot of mistakes. You're not going to see them have a bunch of offsides penalties. Everyone has their role to play, and they know their fits. They know what they're supposed to do every play. And they were able to disrupt the passing game for a very talented Jordan offense. You know, you got Andrew Marsh going to Michigan. You got a lot of young receivers as well that are picking up offers. And then you look at the running back who came back, Chad Gasper from Florida. He didn't really get to play till the second half, but they had Zion Jones back there, another talented guy. But when the pass rush is so great that you can't even get the ball to your playmakers. I mean, they didn't pass the 50 until late in the third quarter or early fourth quarter. That Katy defense was just awesome. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they've got a two running back game punch with Tremaine Hill, who was great last year as a sophomore, has had a really good junior year. And then also, his last name is Jordan, number 9. He is kind of that 1-2 punch for that Katy running game. And they just do Katy things. They're going to get 5 yards, and they're going to keep going 5 yards down the field. And then they hit you with a little play action, and the guy's wide open. So looking at that game, you just see how disciplined that Katy team is. And you look at the Jordan team, they're on the rise. The past 2 years, they've been on the rise. I think this is a Jordan team that will continue to do good things down the road, and they'll be a playoff team. But Katy's still Katy. Nothing new is going to change there. And I think this Katy team can do a lot of special things once they get to the playoffs.
You know, everybody was like, oh my gosh, they lost to Atascocita, who was very good, and they barely beat Dickinson, who is also really good. So everybody, like, the bloom is off the rose of Katy. I was kind of felt that also, but we're wrong because they're going to play Pato. Pato is also, you know, undefeated in district. Bro, no, don't even start with the Pato talk. Katy's going to beat Pato. Let's just get that out of the way. So Willis versus Conroe. 2 schools very close to each other. Very similar, really athletic teams. Why in the heck is the score so lopsided?
Well, one of the reasons is a player named Jermaine Bishop Jr. who had a big game, 2 receiving touchdowns and interception. I also just think offensively, Trent Miller, the head coach who also calls the plays there for Willis, does a really good job at getting the ball to his playmakers in space, whether it be a screen, whether it be quick hitters. And then he takes deep shots at the right time, and I think that that offense doesn't matter if you have DJ Lagway, who's a great talent, who's now at Florida, or you have Jack Emerson, who's there now, transferred from Oak Ridge, who's having a big year. Whoever plays quarterback in that system is always going to produce and be able to get the ball to playmakers and have big games. And I also think defensively, they returned a lot on the defensive front. And at the linebacker position, they had some nice pieces already at DB. I just think that this is a complete Willis football team. And on the Conroe side of it, you know, I got to watch them against Grand Oaks a few weeks ago, and their run game is great. You know, they got Christian Nunley back there at quarterback, and then they have Jermichael Green, the SMU commit, at running back. They're able to run the ball, but the passing game is where if you get down early, like they did to this Willis team, you have to throw the ball to get back into it. And I wouldn't say that is a necessarily strength of this Conroe team. Also, you look at Conroe's defensive backs. This is arguably, if you look at the city of Houston, you look at the recruited guys, this Conroe defensive back group is really strong, and they kind of got exposed against this talented Willis wide receiver core. So I think Willis is really good. They were really good last year. They're still really good this year. This is a team that went to the third round, played DeSoto, so I think Willis is legit, and they're going to go deep again. But I think Conroe is good, too. I think that you just run into that buzzsaw of Willis, and if you get down early, it's hard to come back on them.
People get enamored by D1 players. They get enamored, and they're like, oh my gosh, they have D1, 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 D1. That doesn't matter. You got to put the pads on, because a lot of these D1s are D1 7-on-7 people that play with no pads. So anyways, when you play at Katy, you better come ready, because they're going to kill you in special teams, they're going to kill you in coaching, and they're going to kill you physically, and they're going to out-scheme you, and they're just going to outsmart you, okay? Football is easy. It is so easy. In high school, you run the ball, you run the clock, and you play defense, and you have decent special teams. That's it. That's all you got to do. North Shore, Katy. That's it. That's all. I mean, those are the winners. So Atascocita does the same thing. They just have a superpower North Shore in their way. There are some big games this week. I like one down south. Clear Springs plays Dickinson. No one talks about these teams. No one. But they're the powers in 24-6A. And now they're on a collision course. They are the district leaders. I really like what Dickinson does with these tight ends. They completely demolished Brazos Wood, which let's not talk about that. They scored 82 points against them. 82 points in a high school game. The high school game is short. This is going to be a really good game. I like Dickinson in a sense that they can out-athlete you, but Clear Springs is a really well-coached team. I'm going Dickinson this time. Clear Springs has beaten them recently. Clear Falls has also won that district recently. Dickinson, it's been a minute. Snelson, coach, I'm going with you guys. Y'all are going to win this district, and it's going to start with this game this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, this is two teams. Well, there's really three teams tied for first right now. Deer Park is in the mix too, but this will be the first battle between these two. Out of those three teams, this is where it starts, where these teams start playing each other. I look at this Dickinson team, like you said, the tight ends, you got Mason Peterson going to TCU. You've got Jeremiah Scooby, who's going to Bowling Green. Both these guys are explosive playmakers in the passing game, but their running game has also been really good too. I'm looking forward to watch this Clear Springs defense, which has had a lot of talent, and they still do, versus that Dickinson offense. And then for Clear Springs on offense, can you get the ball to Muse Tankara, who's been having a huge year? Keep getting him the ball. Keep finding ways to get your playmakers the ball. It should be a fun game. I think it's going to be a tight one, but it could get high scoring for this game.
We had Katy versus Pato on the list. Sell me on Pato. Sell me how they win this game.
Pato, similar to Katy, they're very disciplined on what they do. They don't really go away from what they do. They're really good at in the run game. Watching them against Cinco Ranch, their offensive line can move people at will. And then they've got a little running back.
They can move Cinco Ranch's defensive line at will. That's a big difference. You, Alex Hinton over there, Bradley Collier. We can move Cinco Ranch's defensive line a little bit. Just a little pushing. Go, carry on.
Well, I still think that Pato does really good up front of just what they do. Opening up holes for Terrence Johnson, who's having a huge year. Very explosive back, not very big, but once he hits the hole and he's got one-on-one with somebody, he's hard to catch. Really fast kid. I think that this could be an interesting matchup for Katy, only because I think that Pato defense is also very good. They've got some nice pieces up front. We talked about Carmelo Brooks. We got to see him a few weeks ago, the U of H commit up front. He was wrecking havoc.
He's big time.
I think that he needs to have a big game up front to disrupt this run game, and Nick Elko at linebacker is going to be another guy to watch out for Pato. I don't know. I think maybe earlier in the year we would have predicted this game to be a blowout. I know you might still kind of see Katy dominating this game. I think it's going to be closer than we think, and I think that this game is going to be really fast as far as the time goes, because both these teams love to run the football. I think that's whoever can dominate the run game and get on the board first, I think is going to be one of the teams that takes the win, because with how both these defenses play in the run game, I think that's what it's going to take to win this.
I think Katy wins by 21. Shadow Creek Pearland. Man, what? Coach Green, Tyrone Green, first year. He has been he's been bitten by the injury bug so bad. You know, quarterback's out for the season. Corey Watson's out. Now they got to play a defensive back who played a little bit quarterback last year, but they play Pearland. Both are undefeated in this district. It's going to come down to whoever wins this wins the district. What do you think? I
think based off the injury fact, Kobe Sellers can play quarterback. He did it last year. They A&M committed DB, but this Pearland defense is really good, and they've shown that this year. I believe their only loss, it was a close one, non-district game, but they've been able to dominate everybody else. Their offense is scoring a lot of points too. So, you look at this game, Shadow Creek has, like you said, they have all the D1 guys. I don't think they have D1 guys or playmakers at the right spots right now where you necessarily need them to be. Quarterback being one of them, and not to say Kobe Sellers can't do it, but that's not his position. Pearland is really good at what they do, running the ball defensively. They're really physical. I think Pearland wins this game pretty handedly.
Cy Falls, Stratford. Stratford was, playing well. Then they lost last week to Cy Fair. Cy Fair is another one of those teams that's hadn't had a great season, but same thing, running, control the clock, defense. They play Cy Falls. Cy Falls is undefeated in this district. I don't know. We just hadn't talked that much about Cy Falls. I know they have a really nice defensive, linebacker superstar, but what else do they do? I can't really tell. But I think Cy Falls wins this.
I agree. Here's the thing about the Cy Falls team is, yes, Caleb Burns is having a heck of a year. I believe he has 6 defensive touchdowns on the year, whether that be fumble recoveries or interceptions. But you look at that Cy Falls defense as a whole. They've won a lot of games like 7-0 or 14-0. But the defense is the one who's kind of rowing the boat right now. The offense kind of picked up last week. They scored 44 points. Can your offense keep scoring points? Because you're going to need to this week. Stratford, it will score some points. But defensively, I think they are really solid. You look at Caden McCarty, the sophomore, is having a big year, 9 sacks on the year. Like we talked about, Caleb Burns. I think Cy Falls gets this win, and we have a big-time matchup coming in a few weeks with Cy Falls and Cy Fair, who are both undefeated in this district.
Then the granddaddy of them all. They call him the granddaddy of them all. The only game that matters in the city of Houston is North Shore versus Atascocita. I like North Shore. I think they, again, corny phrase, they play complementary football. Really good quarterback, really good defense, like elite on both levels. I think the running game is a little banged up. I'm not sure about the running game. Their special teams has kind of gone off. You talked about this. Quanell Farrakhan, who moved over from the Woodlands, moves to North Shore, has a big... He's just kind of an X factor for them. I predict that North Shore wins by, let's call it, 10. They play out of Atascocita. I don't think that really matters. But what are your takeaways to this game?
Looking at this game, I think it's going to come down to all 3 phases of the game. Because last week at Atascocita, part of the reason why they won against Kingwood, Torrey Blaylock had a 90-yard kick return touchdown, and Kyron Pate had another 80-yard kick return touchdown. You mentioned Quanell. Quanell had 4 special teams touchdowns last week. Special teams are going to play...
That's impossible.
It's insane. Special teams are going to play a big part in this game because both defense will get stops. That's going to happen. It's going to be a physical matchup. My question mark will be for the Atascocita defense. There's a lot of talent on the other side for offensively, and Caleb Bailey is having a really good senior year right now. He has a lot of playmakers to get the ball to. He's active in the run game as well. Can you stop that offense? That'll be the question mark. They weren't able to stop Kingwood last week. So we'll see. I think that I would give the edge to North Shore right now, just based off of what we've been able to see from them the past few weeks. Now, they haven't really played any competition. This will be the first test that they get. But I think it's going to be a tight game. And, with the Atascocita at home, you could see them squeak out a win.
So who are you taking?
I'm going to take North Shore, but I think it's close. You could flip a coin. I think this is the game where I could flip a coin, and I want to know who to pick. I've watched both play. Both are really strong. I'll give North Shore the nod right now. My opinion could change later this week.
All right, I'm going to go North Shore by 2 touchdowns. I'm saying I said 10 a second ago. I'm going to 14. 14 for sure. Okay, so this is a big week. We're getting to the end of the season. Hey, we've got a game this week also. Check it out. Cool private school game. Concordia Lutheran has been having a great season. And St. Thomas started slow, boom, ramping up. So that's our Thursday night game of the week. Check that out on Space City Home Network. Watch for all of our social media around that. You can go watch the game. It's super easy. But that'll be kind of an interesting game. Private school, Second Baptist beat TWCA in overtime. Kincaid's balling, dude. They beat Episcopal. I think they might have one loss, but they beat Second Baptist. Kincaid's balling right now. So I don't know much about what they do in SBC for Dallas, but they're the best team in Houston as it relates to SBC. Any private school news and notes?
I think just touching on the game that you're going to be at on Thursday, that's a huge game. Being a Concordia alum, playing the Saints was always a big week, whether that be St. Pius, St. Thomas. I look at this game. I really like how Tanner Huckfeldt's been playing the past few weeks for Concordia at quarterback. Really talented arm. He's got some nice guys to get the ball to. Their run game is really good. But then you look at St. Thomas with Thomas Jenkins at quarterback. He's Roy Thomas Jenkins. He's really good too. They're on the come up. You're going to have a really high scoring game, I think. It'll be a little high scoring. But Second Baptist, I think that win in overtime going to the Woodlands Christian Academy is a big win. Gives your guys some momentum as you go forward throughout the rest of district play, and then getting the playoffs knowing that, hey, we can win these tight games that are tied down the road and where you have to get a stop, you have to score here to win the game or keep the game going. I think that's just going to add momentum for them going forward.
Yeah. Second Baptist, they're winning that district, no doubt about it. I mean, they're going undefeated in that district. All right. So for Matt Malatesta, Jackson DePasquale, Alex Henson, Bradley Collier, this is On My Whistle. We need a whistle. We need to be wearing whistles. That's the next thing we got to buy. We got the room. We need whistles. And the cash cam, of course. Don't forget about that. We'll see you next week. And we'll see you guys and girls at the games.